Yay!
Yay.
All right, I'm gonna be quiet now.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Tommy. I'm here to talk about between everyday entrepreneurs. Sorry, I have to whisper. I'm in a library. But let's talk about this.
Your mic is a little muffled. If you can shout louder.
Okay. A little bit about me. I started drawing in 2010, and I started making VNs around 2015.
Hold on. Your mic is totally not picking up. Like it's like very mumbled.
I have no clue where it is. Is it here?
Oh, yeah, yep.
Oh, okay, now I know.
That's much better.
Okay, found it. Okay, currently I own Crystal Gameworks and we're working on Asterism, and I also do PR at Studio Élan. So, business grants for anime games. Today I'm going to talk about what a business grant is and why you should care about it, finding business grants and competitions, structuring your presentation, and notes and advice. So, what is a business grant? Well, from startups.com, business grant is a sum of money given to a business in order to help them further their business. Unlike many other types of business funding, grants don't have to be paid back, and business owners aren't required to give up equity in exchange for it. So basically, this is just money given to a business that has no strings attached. There's no rev share, none of that. So you can call it free money. Now, if they are asking for rev share or some kind of return, that is not a business grant, that is something else. Something like a venture capitalist is somebody who invests money and expects a percentage of the company. That's like Shark Tank. That's not what this is. Now, there is sometimes a catch. The catch being, depending on who gives you the grant, they may want progress updates. For one of the grants I have, every month I'll get a call from my advisor and we'll just talk about like what I'm up to, what I'm going to do in the future, just general things like that. Sometimes they'll want a detailed plan of where the money will go to. I've never seen them ask for receipts, but they do typically want like $200 will go to Google AdSense, $300 will go to promotional art, things like that. You know, nothing down to the very dollar, but you know, they have an idea of what you're spending it on. How do you find these grants and competitions? Well, first way would be to Google your state or country for grants. So, like you can Google business grants in Mississippi, something like that. My state has an annual business competition that's open to the public, but not a lot of people know about it. But it is open to the public, so there's probably things like that for your states or countries. Sometimes. You can also use sites like gus.com. That's one of the websites that the one for my state uses. And it's basically an international website where people who want to be angel investors, which is basically someone who gives money to a business, sometimes anonymously, they just donate it. And also people who want to make business grants will post their stuff. And it's an international website, so I've seen a lot of postings from like Spain and Netherlands, places like that. But just verify who you're looking at, you know. Just be aware. And also, if you went to college, you can Google or call your college. I work for my school's entrepreneurship program, and we'll get calls about once a month of alumni asking us like, hey, I'm starting a business. I need help with this or this. Can you send me to somebody and we'll help them out? And those programs, most of the times, aren't just for business alumni. So they have a lot of great tools that can help you out and finding grants as well. So, what happens after you find the grant? Well, you need to read it because there's a lot of different types of grants. Sometimes it's just an online form, like if it was a scholarship or something. Sometimes they ask you to record yourself pitching your business idea. And sometimes there are competitions where you have to go in person and pitch your business. So what do I mean by pitch? Well, this is an example of pitch deck. This is my own pitch deck, which I've linked. And it's basically a presentation. Pitch deck, just think PowerPoint for businesses. It's basically just a presentation about your business, which I'll go over like some of the slides a bit more in detail later. So business competitions are typically done in person at events. And there's where there's other business ideas there. Sometimes they're just ideas, and sometimes they're like post revenue. There is judges. So the pitches will be done in front of judges and sometimes an audience. I've done pitches where there's been just 4 judges and me in a tiny little room, and I've done them in front of like 8 judges and 50 audience members. So it just depends on the venue. There's a time limit almost always. I've typically seen it be 8 minutes. Sometimes it's 10, and then there's always Q&A. It just depends. As I say here, competitions can vary a lot. I've been to some that have 3 different categories: student division, pre-revenue, and post-revenue. Sometimes they'll have first, second, and third prizes. Sometimes they won't. They'll just have 1 prize. And as I'll talk about later, the judges come from all walks of life. So a pitch deck, here is an outline for one. These bullets are taken directly from a guide for a previous business competition I was in. Now the order of these bullets will change depending on what competition you're at or what guide you're looking at, but these are the most used slides. Each bullet is a different slide. I can't go over every single bullet, but you'll see them all on my pitch deck. This, like I said, the structure can be changed around, but you almost always want to keep the problem first and then the solution. So there's also a thing called the lean canvas. It's basically a way to structure your business model. So this is one, like I just Googled lean canvas and found this easily. You can do that as well. And I just quickly filled it in with things for a general visual novel company. I didn't fill them all in because some of them are very specific for a company. But depending on what company, like what your company specializes in, the problem, the customer segments, all of that will be slightly changed. Like my customer segments is a lot more detailed because I've done surveys and stuff. So I know who my audience more is. So I would, I don't think y'all have to fill this out, but it is a good idea to just like look at some of the things and just kind of think about them. Because as you'll see, a lot of these boxes are just rewords of these. So some few little tips. When you're doing a pitch deck, just make it easy to read. These people want to hear you. They want to see images. They like images. And they want to see you do talking. They don't want to read stuff. Because they're there to listen to you. You also need to explain things. So a lot of these judges aren't really going to know what video games are, and especially visual novels. I've probably met 50 judges, and maybe 5 of them like knew what an RPG is, for example. So you're going to have to really explain things to these people and make it unique. Like video games are just so different than what these people see. They're just so unique. We make visual novels, so tell them a story. I've seen judges not disqualify, but not not pick somebody to win because the team had a great business idea. They had a great presentation, but they didn't have a story with it. And the judges said, well, this is a great business idea, but where's the story? I don't know. I don't see the passion in it. How did you guys come up with this? How is, you know? So two ways I make mine unique is I will put Steam reviews for my games. This really shows the judges customer validation because it shows people that not only are people trying out your product, but they're also liking it. Another way is more recently I've started adding fan art. It's a bit embarrassing sometimes to have big anime art pop up, but it really shows them, like, once you explain, like, this is something that people poured hours into on their own free will, they're like, wow, that's really interesting, because you don't see that a lot with other businesses. You don't see that at all really with other businesses, but that's some more notes of advice. Just show interest. You know, like, if you're here, then you should have a passion for making visual novels. I hope you do, you know, so just show them that. It will speak volumes. And make sure your business model is clear. These are business oriented people. They want to see where the money comes in and where it goes out. So just make sure you're clear with that. If you go to a competition, just talk to people. Like, there's so many different people from all walks of life. You never know who might be there, who can help you, or who you can help. And just keep smiling. A lot of times these judges will fly hours away just to donate time back to the college or the event and organization. So they want to have a good time. So just have fun with it. I'll typically make a few jokes in my presentations. Like for my team members, for most of them it was just me. So I would put a picture of my 12-pound chihuahua there as well. You know, just something to lighten up the mood. Just make sure they remember you, because if you leave them with a smile, they'll remember you. And a few more notes. All judges are different. I've been to one competition where the judges loved my presentation. I got first place. And then the next competition, I used the same presentation and the judges liked it, but they had some problems in areas and I didn't pass on to the finals. So it really just depends on the judges. I've had some that were some that owned law firms, some that founded Carvana. There's all types. Don't dwell on the problems. We all have different areas that we excel at and that we're not as good at. And so the last competition I was in, the person who won it, their first presentation included some numbers for their revenue streams. So they had numbers on how much they charged people for their product. And these numbers weren't that great, and they must have known that because for their final presentation, they omitted those numbers. So they just said, we charge people for this product, and didn't go into too much detail. And they ended up winning the competition. So just focus on the good stuff about your presentation. That presentation, they really won the competition because their presentation was just so polished and nice looking. We make the ends. We can make good presentations. Yeah, just focus on the stuff that you do good, and they'll see that. Just be courteous to everybody. Like, you really don't know who you're talking to or who you're beside. Just always assume that you can learn something from a conversation. So, in closing, Never leave empty-handed, whether it's with a business grant or with some business cards, and just have fun. So, any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach me on Twitter or Discord if you want to talk anything about business grants or marketing or such. If I went over something too quickly or whatnot. First link here is for Dev Talk, where I'm chained to. You can find me there any time of day, probably. My personal Twitter, company Twitter, and Instagram. Yeah, that's about it.
Yay! Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. And so we can open this up for questions now.
Cool. I can't see Discord, so can you tell me?
All right. I'm gonna wait for.
About
see what
3 yards away, charging.
You can ask questions in the Discord chat, and then I'll just read them, and we'll figure it out from there.
Sounds good.
Size of so someone asked, what's the size of a typical grant?
Oh, so it really depends. I've seen some for $1,000. I've seen some for $10,000. Yeah, like yeah.
Yeah, it's what you can justify and what they feel like doing.
Yeah, and there's definitely some that are a lot more than $10,000, but that's just ones that I've entered in competitions for.
Okay, let's see. If someone has the Steam stats from earlier, are those stats specifically for the VN genre? Question mark.
No, they are not. So in my presentation, I clarify that. Basically, yeah, that one. Basically, I tell them like these are the stats for video games, and then later on in my presentation, I'll tell them like here's the exact stats. Well, not exact, but you know, the stats for VNs.
Yeah, you have to be aware that a lot of these people may not be familiar with the market. So you're like, here's how big the market is. Here's our set. Like,
yeah.
down.
So I'll explain like Steam and Google Play because they know what Google Play is, but they don't know what Steam is. Almost always.
Okay.
I
let's
wish
see.
I was lying.
Mm-hmm. Someone asked, do you have to show a budget of how you will spend?
Not always. Yeah, like I've entered in some before where you actually ask for an amount between 500 and 5,000. And in that type of presentation, you're expected to answer how you want to spend that specific amount that you ask for. But for just a general, like, first place gets $3,000, they don't fully expect a detailed thing. Like, if you can mention, like, this money will go towards marketing or towards product development, then that's great. But
Windows update.
Are you kidding me? It's never done this before.
We can deal with this. Well, we have 5 more minutes of talk, so I can always. I'm going to hand the presenter over to Sasquatchy, who's next, and she can prepare while we continue asking questions.
Okay.
That way, you're a little bit more free to look at this thing. So we had 3 questions here. Someone asked, "What is your win ratio?" If you don't mind talking to, how many pitches have you given versus like how many did you get?
God, I don't even remember. I know my first one I bombed, which I should include that presentation because that one was terrible. That was a great example of how not to do one. But I did keep learning. It's definitely something where you get better with time. I've won at least 2 or 3. Yeah.
Cool.
Probably out of, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then another person asks, do you ever take funds where a return is expected from investors?
No, that's not a business grant. I have been asked that before. They were trying to trip me up. Literally, the last competition I went to, the judges were at the Q&A. They were like, "So, are you looking for an investor?" And I was like, "I don't want one that's not video game oriented." And they were like, "That's a good answer." I'm like, what? You're just trying to trip me up. Anyway.
Yeah, that's sketchy. Okay, let's see.
Not really. I mean, they could just be using it as a learning opportunity, and even if you had said yes, they'd be like, "You shouldn't be so eager for that."
No.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Another thing is I noticed my school has an annual Shark Tank. Is that the right sort of competition?
No, but that is a good one. My school, we do a Shark Tank each semester, and the way we structure ours is it's $300. You just get up there for 1 minute and just pitch any idea you have without a presentation. You just talk for a minute, and you win $300 in your campus college account. So those are good, typically.
Okay, do publishers do grants versus the usual publisher
No.
relationship like Steam grants?
I don't really know. I've never
At least for Sekai projects, it's very rare that we do grants. At least we'll structure it so at least like there is a potential for us to get our money back eventually. So it's not like free money in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's fairly lax, but like the process has changed and I don't quite exactly know the details. But it's not exactly just here's money, go do whatever you want kind of situation.
Yeah. That's typically how these grants are. It's just money that's here, go do whatever.
A lot of it comes out of like the government trying to sponsor small businesses, so they have a block of money that they're giving out essentially.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we have a couple of more minutes, so we can probably get 1 or 2 more questions in there if there's any. All right, looks like we're about cool. That was great. Thank you for like presenting in the middle of a blackout for you. So
I'm glad I was
I just
able
wanted to like put that on the record in the audio that you're doing this like not at home.
I'm in a library surrounded by law books. It's great.
So it all worked out. Yay. So congratulations. Thank you so much.